Hello and welcome. I'm Christine Manning with the Wine Education Institute. Thank you for joining me on today's advanced tour of the wines of Portugal. For a long time, the world only really looked to Portugal for one thing: port. But in recent decades, there has been a revolution in Portuguese still wines. We are looking at a country with a wealth of indigenous grapes you often won't find anywhere else, and a climate that offers everything from crisp, refreshing whites to full-bodied, structured reds. Its geographical isolation has meant some varietals have a very long history, dating back to the Phoenicians. While not common in an in-depth short answer question, Portugal will certainly show itself on multiple choice. Let's take a look. To understand Portugal, we have to understand its geography. It is a small country, but the climate varies widely. Its biggest influence is the Atlantic Ocean in the north and west near the coast, and the ocean will make things cool, wet, and windy. But as you move inland, the climate becomes hot, dry, and continental. Altitude will also play a role here, helping to preserve acidity in what is otherwise a warm country. Before we take a deeper dive into the regions, we will look at our overarching wine laws and then look more specifically at our regions. For our legalities, Portugal follows our standard EU structure with additional specific Portuguese terms to be familiar with. At the base of our pyramid, for our PGI wines, we have IGP for our Portuguese abbreviations. However, you might see the traditional term on labels, which is Vinho Regional. This will allow for international varieties, higher yields, and some of Portugal's most commercially successful wines are labeled as Vinho Regional. At the top of the pyramid, for the highest quality wines, we have our DOP wines. However, on labels, you might more frequently see the traditional term, which is DOC, but these both mean the same thing. Now let's look at the regions and the grapes, starting in the cool, wet Northwest. Our first stop is Vinho Verde. This region is located in the northwest corner of Portugal, right on the Atlantic coast. It has a moderate maritime climate, with rainfall being a defining feature. It is very wet. To help with airflow in this humid climate, traditionally, vines were trained high on pergolas to improve air circulation and allow other crops to grow underneath. More modern vineyards are focused on quality wines, are switching to vertical shoot positioning or VSP. This allows for mechanization and creates a canopy that allows for airflow, which is critical to prevent rot. Classic Vinho Verde is pale lemon, high in acidity, and low in alcohol, usually between 8.5% and 11.5% alcohol, and it might even have a light sparkle or spritz to it. Let's look at the grapes it's made from. Loureiro gives floral and citrus notes, and Arinto provides those racy acidity and distinct fruit notes. Some subregions to know are Mansão and Melgaço. Here they specialize in Alvarinho. Unlike the standard blend, Alvarinho from this specific subregion has higher alcohol, around 11.5% to 14%, and it might be more ripe and textured. We'll head inland and upstream to the Douro. You likely know this region as the home of port, but it does produce some dry wines as well. As we move away from the Atlantic, the climate becomes hot and continental. It is rugged and wild country here. Red wines here are usually blends, often coming from the same 5 key varieties used for port. We want to know these 5 grapes. The first is Touriga Nacional. This is our highest quality. It gives low yields, intense color, high tannins, and distinct floral aromas. Touriga Franca is widely planted and adds perfume. Tinta Roriz is the Portuguese name for Tempranillo. It's also known by other names in the south. It adds body and spice. Tinta Barroca adds sweetness and alcohol. And Tinta Sal adds acidity and elegance. The red wine from the Douro are deeply colored, full-bodied, and have high tannins. They're powerful wines with rich black fruit flavors, often matured in new oak. White wines coming from high-altitude vineyards show fresh varietal fruit and medium to high acidity. Travel about 80 kilometers to the south of the Douro and we hit the Douro. This region is surrounded by mountains. This protects it from the cool, wet Atlantic winds and the hot continental heart of the interior. The vineyards are planted at altitudes about 500 meters, and this will create a climate with warm days but cool nights for that diurnal range. The reds are often blends. Touriga Nacional and Tinto Rooiz are key here, but we also find Jaén, which is the same grape as Mencía in Spain, and Alvarinho. Alvarinho gives wines that are deep in color with intense blackberry and strawberry aromas. Jaén offers softer tannins and red fruit notes. Because of the altitude and mountain protection, Douro wines are famously elegant. They have high acidity, delicate red fruit aromas, and soft tannins. They are often less massive than the wines of the Douro. Moving back towards the coast, south of Vinho Verde, we find Bairrada, which has a maritime climate. Like Vinho Verde, rain around harvest can be a problem. The star grape is Baga. Baga is a difficult grape. It is late ripening with small, thick-skinned berries. If it's picked unripe, it can be very tannic and highly acidic. If handled correctly though, and fully ripened, it has wines with deep color, high tannin, and can age for a long time, developing complex tertiary aromas. Now we head to the southeast of Portugal, to Alentejo. This is a warm growing region with hot summers. This region is very large and is divided into 8 subregions, but much of the production happens under the larger Vinho Regional Alentejo designation, which will allow for greater flexibility. The grapes here are usually focused on blends. Aragonês is Tinto Rooiz, which is Tempranillo. It adds red fruit and spice. Trincadeira is a drought-tolerant grape and it needs heat. It provides spicy red berry flavors and high tannins. And Alicante Bouschet is unique because it has a colored flesh, a different tint to it, and it provides deep color, tannin, and structure to blends. Alentejo wines are typically full-bodied, rich, and full of ripe fruit and spice. They're very popular wines because they're approachable, yet softer tannin style. And our finally little strip of land running north from the capital city is Lisboa. This area produces a vast amount of wine, mostly labeled as Vinho Regional Lisboa. Because of the Atlantic, the west side of the region is cool and wet, while the inland areas are warmer. The region is a major source of inexpensive, high-volume export wines. So let's wrap up our tour of Portugal. For our laws, we have our DOC at the top of our pyramid and Vinho Regional used for our IGP wines. The regions to know are Vinho Verde, wet and cool, home to Loureiro, Arinto, and our Alvarinho. Douro is hot and rugged with Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tinto Rooiz, Tinta Barroca, and Tinto Sal. Douro has elegant wines from altitude featuring Jaén and Alvarinho. Bairrada is the home of tannic Baga. Alentejo is the hot south blending Aragonês, Trincadeira, and Alicante Bouschet. Don't forget about our Lisboa as well. Portugal offers a diversity that few others can match. Good luck with your studies, and thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Cheers.